Mark,
Mr. Paul,
what's going on?
living the dream.
We are this far away from the end of Dark Crisis and the beginning of the dawn of the DCU. We just have um, two more one shots, and then we have the final issue number 7. So this time we're going to be talking about Dark Crisis War Zone, and Mark and I will get to that right after this. So, welcome to another episode of DC Comics Dark Crisis Deep Dive. I am Paul. He is Mark. Before we go any further, don't forget to make sure you are subscribed. Don't forget to like. Don't forget to comment. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so that you're notified
And
whenever we upload new content.
share the video so we get some
Yes, share
conversation
the
going
video.
down in these comment sections.
Yes, exactly. Because we have a huge drawing going on at the very end for our last episode, which will be dealing with Dark Crisis number 7. It will be a special live episode. We're going to be giving away the entire Dark Crisis saga. And when I say that, I mean every episode of Dark Crisis, every issue of Dark Crisis, all the one shots, all of the tie in things. We got a Crisis on Infinite Earths. We got a Dark Crisis poster. We got so much stuff to give away, you won't believe it. It's going to be probably about 50 comics in all, plus other goodies. So we'll have some of the homage covers. We'll have a foil cover in there. We'll believe me, if it happened in Dark Crisis, it'll be in the package.
So
So
timing wise, that's going to be right after the first of the year, correct?
correct.
So what a better way to start the year than with winning that?
Exactly. Exactly.
Like you pointed out
Um,
before, it's going to be the omnibus. 100% of the content that would be in an omnibus plus some. That's
right.
huge.
Exactly. Um, so we got Dark Crisis, Dark Crisis War Zone. This was a special issue that is set firmly within basically the battle right outside of the Hall of Justice,
Yeah, right in
and
the
it's a
event of
series.
issue 6.
Yeah, exactly. It's a series of 5 different stories, each focused on a different hero or group or whatever. And we start off basically talking about the Flash, but it really is more of a Linda West and Iris Allen type of a story, because they're basically the ones that are the main characters here. Um, Iris is basically covering the fight that's going on. She's being told by her employer that she needs to get out of there, and she ends up coming face to face with who is that?
Mammoth
Yeah, right. Yep, yep. Um, and she gets saved by none other than Linda West.
in that awesome new costume.
Yeah, exactly. Very in an homage to Jay Garrick,
Hey, yeah.
um, in a new costume, and this is the first time that Iris has seen that Linda has powers. And so I have this dialogue back and forth. They end up going into the Hall of Justice, and they end up in this panic room.
That's what they
Which
called it. It was more like an armory.
exactly. Um, and so that gives basically Iris some ammunition as well. And then they both come out and they start fighting these. Uh, exactly what are those?
Random villains.
Yeah,
Just
just
like
random villains.
this whole book,
Uh,
you can play Where's Waldo with anyone. You have like the multiple
exactly.
man kind of guy. You got Captain Cold in a panel, Heat Wave in a panel. Like every panel, you can just play who's who with the villains kind of thing.
Right. And so they're fighting. They're fighting these villains, and it's kind of then there's something interesting to me anyway. Really happens, and um, Linda is getting kind of discouraged because there's too many of them, and so Iris, who had seen Barry do this a million times, says, "Have you tried the cyclone thing with your arms?" And she says, "No, but it actually works." And so what happens is they end up defeating the bad guys, and just at the very end, who shows up but the entire Justice League? And the whole running theme from the beginning to the end was that Barry may not necessarily be there all the time, but he'll be there when you need him.
He's not. He's might seem late, but he's always on time, kind of thing.
Right.
It was this on time thing. And it was cool. We were getting another perspective of that big 2-page turn from issue 6, where you see the Green Lantern Corps with the Justice League, with the Flash family showing back up after having been ousted by Pariah. So it was a pretty fun story. The whole dialogue between Linda and Iris was great. Like, their different perspectives from like the longevity of Iris's relationship and Linda being the capable one at that point. So it was cool how they were playing on each other's strengths, like Linda's capability and Iris's actual experience. It was really cool.
Yeah, and it definitely fit right in with everything that's going on with the Flash, because it was written by Jeremy Adams.
Perfect.
So it really it had that feel to it. So it to me was one of the strongest of the stories that was in here, I thought.
Yeah, the next one, in my opinion, was my favorite story.
Yeah, I was gonna say, although I'm not sure it was the strongest, but it was the one I was most looking forward to, and it was the one that I was most satisfied with at the end.
Yeah.
Was the next one. So go ahead, and you can.
The next one was none other than Jim Corrigan's story. So we've been seeing in the background of these battles, we've seen that this whole event really kicked off with what we thought was the death of multiple characters, including this one of the Spectre. And we find out that Jim Corrigan is racing on his own in his car, in his obvious vintage Mustang, like product placement right there, but that was definitely a vintage Mustang. But he's racing to the battle through the streets, and he crashes his car into Frankenstein, who accidentally cuts him in half in his haste to get there. And he looks up, and we see a closer fight of the battle of this oversized Raven fighting this oversized Spectre above the battlefield, them going back and forth, Raven doing her best to stop the physical embodiment of the wrath of God, God's vengeance. And we see that they're separated. Spectre has no host. He just has the infection from Pariah via the Great Darkness. He's got the chains on him. He's throwing everything at Raven. He's literally throwing people from the battlefield at her, and she's having to catch her friends and keep them alive in the midst of it. And finally, Jim kind of pulls a Hail Mary, and he's like, he doesn't really consider himself strong enough to do anything, but he's really hoping that that bond that they have will be strong enough to really catch the Spectre's attention, to give them an opening at the very least. And it does. He gets close enough to the Spectre, and they start bonding and everything, and it gives Raven what she needs to kind of lock him down for the time being. And of course, it's over way too soon. 8 pages. I mean, this could have gone on for the whole book. I would have been happy with it. And Jim kind of dialoguing the whole time about how he thought he was past it and everything. Of course, the real fight begins now, and we see the Spectre like chilled out, and we see it's Jim's face, but we see in his eye, we see the skeleton representing the curse that he's back under, being like the avatar of the Spectre, pretty much. So hopefully we get a lot more content going forward with the Spectre. He's been one of those characters you only see him when there's big deals. I think the last time that we really saw him was after Death Metal, when he ushered Wonder Woman around in her astral form after they went down in that. But it'd be cool to see where he goes from here, especially knowing we have JSA stuff back in play again. So,
yeah, and the fact that he's right over your shoulder just is a perfect thing for that. So, a couple of things that I really loved about this is, one, I'm just a fanatic for the Spectre. I love the Spectre, huge character. 2, I am really excited, and I'm hoping that they manage to have Jim Corrigan back with the Spectre again, because Jim Corrigan and the Spectre have really not been together since probably his 80s or early 90s series that John Ostrander did with Tom Mandrake. Hal Jordan has been the Spectre. I can't think of another.
PD officer was a Spectre,
right,
exactly, after Hal Jordan. I
forget
what the sergeant's name was, but he was even a character that appeared in Zack Snyder's Justice League. In the scene when you see J.K. Simmons playing Gordon, he said the sergeant's name and I forget him, but that's the guy who gets shot down in the streets of Gotham, who becomes the Spectre.
Right. So to return him to Jim Corrigan and the Spectre, to me would just be huge, and that's exactly. I am all in for that. So I thought the art was great. I mean, to me the art of the Spectre, and it's the art, it's the lettering, it's the whole way. It's got to have this otherworldly type context to it, and it really, I thought that they really did a good job here. Serge Acuna is the guy who did the art in this particular story.
I was just looking. Frank Thierry did the script for that one.
Right.
Just when I thought I was out. That's the name of the little mini story.
Right, exactly. Um, so the third story has to do with basically the Amazons. Yeah, you go ahead.
It was boring. It's literally about bookkeeping.
Right.
So yeah, this one was like fast in a nutshell. You have like just pretty much we visit Themyscira and see them trying to just record keep. Not even front running characters or anything. It's just some of the just the people that live there just hanging out, talking about how it's important to document your victories and your defeats because we learn from them. And we do see that the Amazons of Themyscira are around the earth right now, just doing like service work more or less. You know, helping put fires out, shuttle people to hospitals. Definitely important stuff, and it really speaks volumes to like the nature of the Amazons in current DC Comics versus where they were really ousted, like self-ousted from man's world. They have like a really big footprint in there right now. And we do see that all the front-running Amazonians that you would expect to see from Diana, Yara, Nubia are all in the battle, and we get one panel of them in the battle, and that's pretty much all we get. It isn't an action-driven story. It's just to show you the kind-hearted, loving, caring nature of the Themyscirians.
Yeah,
Thought
I
they were
agree.
warriors.
If this was the if there was a strongest story, this to me was the weakest story
Yeah, well,
of the
wouldn't
five.
they all be at the battle serving like anyone can shuttle someone to the hospital? Like y'all are Amazon warriors. Go fight.
Yeah, I almost felt like this whole story was just to get to that last panel where it says, basically I see Deathstroke, in death and destruction and everything, and it's like, okay,
Yeah, and I believe that was at Nubia's little part, right?
right,
Esquilicia. Like, so that's not Nubia. Yara. Is that Yara's little area of the rainforest there?
yep,
Arkham, home of the Esquicidia. I don't know. I haven't been keeping up with all this extended Wonder Woman stuff. But
yep,
next one was tight. The next one was real tight.
exactly. The next one was the Green Lantern Corps.
Yes. I
Yeah,
love that it
exactly.
focused heavily. So we got a heavily focused on Guy Gardner and Joe Mullen, which was great. The chemistry and the back and forth between them and the dynamic between their two very assertive and capable personalities. It was great. You got that little friction, and then it found the symmetry and just came together. It was real cool.
Yeah, it was. And so they're coming back, and basically Hal basically tells Joe and Guy to take some people and go fight
Hold
some
the
of the
line.
some of the exactly so that they can go and fight Deathstroke. And
Mm-hmm.
so he tells them to hold the line, and Joe doesn't think when she first gets up there doesn't think that they're going to be able to do it, so they need to retreat. And so Guy basically says, we can't retreat because if we retreat, we'll never
They're
come
all
back.
dead. Yeah.
Exactly. So he gives this speech, but he's been doing it a lot longer. You're worried about losing some people in if we stay, but if we run, we lose everything. So he gives this long speech, well, longish speech or whatever, and that convinces Joe to give a speech to other people and to rally up the troops. And they go and they fight, and they're able to hold them off. And then basically what happens is at the very end, could they come back to where Hal is, and Joe thanks Guy, for giving the speech. Guy says, you're really the one that gave the speech. And so, and Joe says, no, but you did. And he's like, no. He goes, I thought that we were going to lose.
Yeah, I thought we were all going to die. I appreciate
Yeah,
you. There are some really strong moments too. You know, you have the personalities were on full display in this small 8-page story. You know, you had Hal, point man, front and center. He is the greatest of the core members. There's no question about it. Doesn't have to be your favorite, but he is the greatest. And he told the core members, I need y'all to look up there. There's an entire army of shadow people coming, these shadow entities. Stop them. Keep them off this battlefield so we can go handle Deathstroke's army. And Guy, of course, like, no, I should be the one to handle Deathstroke's army, blah, blah, blah. About that time, Superman falls to the ground,
right.
injured in one panel, and they're like, yeah, we'll go handle the blob things. You got this, Hal. I'm like, yes. It was awesome.
It was. It was. And again, it was. Anytime we can get the Green Lantern Corps together, especially in the absence of having a Green Lantern Corps for the past few months, other than in some of these pages here, really
Crazy
does
to
my
think.
heart good.
Yeah, it's crazy to think we didn't have like a ongoing. I didn't pick up that most recent little mini run after Future State with the Teen Lantern character. I
Mhm.
didn't. I don't know if I missed out on anything good or not, but I somehow don't feel like I did.
Yeah, no, not really. So our final story features basically the newest character to the DC universe.
Sweet cheeks.
Exactly, Red Canary. Um,
You
and
have to
so,
catch the last episode for that reference.
yes, yeah, exactly. Yes. So there's a good reason to go back and watch some of these other episodes because we
Yeah,
reference things that we've done before.
we do.
Um, so she basically is. We learned that she basically has no powers. She basically everything she has learned for the most part by being a Black Canary wannabe and being a fan of Black Canary. And so she is with Dick and Sideways and Power Girl. So she's basically coming in at the end of where we were at the last one shot that ended that was upon us.
What was that, the Dark Army?
Right.
Yeah.
And so Tim basically convinces her to go and hide in a bus because she has no superpowers. Everything that's going on is not for someone who doesn't have superpowers. And so she goes in there and she is nearly killed by Ragdoll. But Ragdoll is basically subdued by Black Canary. And so, she says, I'm Black Canary, who are you? And she basically has this big fangirl moment of, oh my God, I'm new. They call me Red Canary, and you're my idol. They just, hope that's not weird.
Not at all. Not at all. So it really seems like Red Canary's main ability here is like optimism. Like
Right.
she believes she can do stuff, so she actually puts her best foot forward and attempts to do it. And in the process, she actually learns how capable she is and picks up skills along the way. And it was pretty cool getting to see her fight side by side with Spoiler and Black Canary and what they've done in the past couple of issues. We got that look of her in number 3. We got a kind of a soft introduction in that last one shot. We actually get to see her validation in this one. So we're actually getting like legitimate character arc and growth inside of her appearances. They're not just randomly putting her into stuff. It looks like there's clear signs of editorial attention being made to this character. So I'm definitely expecting to see more of her. She's an absolutely fun character. Hope to God she sticks around for some big adventures. I know that I've already seen her on some of the solicitations for Lazarus Planet stuff, so that'd be cool to get to see her really spread her little canary wings.
She has jazz hands.
Spirit.
Yes, and to your point, I totally agree. I think she is going to be one of the pillars of optimism in the DCU because, as we know, it's always darkest before the dawn. So we have Dark Crisis. We're going to have Dawn of the DCU. I could picture her being someone that is really put to prominence once we get to the dawn of the DCU. But again, it was great interaction between Black Canary and Red Canary. It was a fun issue. Overall, I thought it was a solid issue, with the exception of that one, Amazon's thing,
Yeah,
which was kind of
a stick in the mud in the middle of the whole thing.
Yeah, but it actually did help to advance some of the stories as well, which is good. We always like that too from a one shot. That it's not just something that they're just trying to get some money out of people. It actually did help advance some of the stories.
Young Justice.
Yeah.
Terrible.
But that leaves us now with just one more one shot, and then we're back, and then we're at the final of Dark Crisis number 7. So
we're this close.
We are. I, for one, cannot wait. And then we'll see the dawn of the DCU.
Now
and we will.
What you're about to do with Nightwing.
And this show will rise like a phoenix from the ashes from Dark Crisis to dawn of the DCU. So
don't go
again, don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to like. Don't forget to hit the notification button. Don't forget to make sure you subscribe to Mr. Mark as well. If you're looking for him on Instagram, you are now Legion of Comics 17.
17, yeah, one word.
No dots. Legion of Comics.
Legion of Comics and the number 17.
Yes. So
brand new Instagram, brand new me. Thank you, hackers.
But that's going to do it for this episode of DC Comics Dark Crisis Deep Dive. I am Paul. He is Mark.
We are Legion. And you're now leaving Sector 2815.
Thanks for stopping by.